I call the Board of Destin Fire Control District of Fire Commissioners to order. We're here at the Destin Fire Control District, Station 9 at 848 Airport Road, Destin, Florida. First thing on the agenda is public comments. Anybody here in the public would like to respond? Okay, seeing none, the floor is closed.
No pressure on you guys.
Just want to make note that Mr. Buckingham is absent, and it is an excused absence. And next thing on the agenda is the regular meeting minutes, the review of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 13th, 2017.
Have a motion to approve the minutes on June 13th. You got a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Review of the financial report.
Yes, sir, Ms. Catherine isn't here, but she did produce a financial report from a distance. If you have any questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If not, we'll hold them to Ms. Catherine when it's back at me next month.
Motion to approve the minutes, financial report of June 30th.
Second. Got a motion to approve the financial report for June 30th and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right, old business, effect of homestead exemption, non-ad valorem.
Yes, sir, we carried this over from the last meeting. We're kind of waiting on a full board. I believe Commissioner Green had agreed to hold it until we had the full board here. Obviously, we don't have a full board here tonight, but if the commission would like to discuss it, it's still on the agenda.
I have no issue tabling to this
Do you want to discuss it anymore, or just want to table it?
meeting. Just table it.
Okay. Is that it?
I'll second
Okay. Okay. Homestead exemption, non-ad valorem has been tabled to next meeting. Fiscal year 2017-2018 proposed budget, first draft.
Yes, sir, we'll be providing the board with first draft in our August meeting. Catherine and I are working diligently on it. We're facing some challenges, but regardless, we'll have something put together. But before we present in August, we'd like to sit down with each one of the commissioners individually, get your thoughts, that is, and see if we can incorporate each commissioner's thoughts into the budget before we print it to the group as a whole. So we're still working on it. We've got the skeleton of one, but we're plugging some holes in it, doing some things there. So the increase is being eaten up rapidly with a lot of increases. But we'll explain all of that when we sit down with each one individually, and then get your thoughts, and then present it to the group as a whole.
Moving to chief report, peak safety update.
Yes, sir. Unfortunately, Joe had a family emergency. He had planned to be here, but today things changed. They did compete. Some of the lifeguards competed in the Jacksonville relays. This year they finished fifth. The statistics are on the following pages. I can tell you that it has been a very busy summer, just based upon my conversations with Joe, what has occurred on the beach. There's a lot of people, so the lifeguards have been extremely busy. And I know out on Crab Island, the boat has been very busy out there, pulling people from the water. So, and Joe has incorporated those into those numbers. What I may do at the next meeting is at the bottom, separate it out so that you can actually see solely the boat numbers as I did last year, instead of incorporating them together. Separate them so you can see this is what the boat was doing, this is what the lifeguard 9, this is what the jetty is doing, so you can kind of see what each one of those are doing. Because lifeguard 9 is is extremely busy over there with all the snorkel boats and the activity takes place, but then again, so is Boat 9. But there's quite a few agencies that are around Crab Island, with FWC, the Sheriff's Office, there's quite a few, so they pluck some that we don't get to. So you might not see quite the numbers that you would see out of Lifeguard 9, because they're the only one that is there at the jetties that are protecting all of those people. So I think you'll see some differences in the numbers, but I think we do need to see the differences, because they are two separate locations. I look at the beach as a whole, so we can incorporate all of that, but then we picked up those two additional responsibilities. And that's kind of how I explained it to the commission, county commission, when I spoken with them, is that not only do we protect the 6 miles, I don't break it down into each zone, I'd say not only do we protect the 6 miles, but then we have the additional duties of a lifeguard at Finger Jetty as well as Crab Island. So when you make a comparison of other beach safety entities, we can compare a beach, 6 miles, 3 miles, 1.5 miles, or whatever they cover. So you can compare that, that's beachfront, and that's being covered, but then we have these additional responsibilities that we're picking up. So when you look at funding, we need to take that into consideration, not just the direct comparison of numbers of people and miles of beach, but also the additional duties that come along with it, that we've taken on.
So we're breaking out the boat,
I will break out the vote at the next.
expenses of the boat and everything as well?
Well,
Operation or just
probably
the rescues?
just the statistics as far as rescues and those kind of things, because that's really, that's really what is going to, I think, sell the point of it being out there, as well as the lifeguard and jetty being there. That's what they're actually doing.
Chief, how are we staffed, sorry, go ahead. How are we staffed with the lifeguard station in the jetties? Is there just one person there?
Yes, sir, that's correct. One lifeguard, he is on a jet ski. So as compared to having a lifeguard that's in a zone that's covering, or in a tower, and has a given area, and they swim out, take the board out, paddle out, whatever they need to do to get there, because of the hole, as I call it, it's right there at the end of the finger jetties, and you can see it on satellite and all that. Because of that current and all, and the amount of work that he has to do there, we put them on a jet ski so that they can get in and out where they need to be. And especially if it's an active outgoing current or ingoing current, it creates that Venturi effect. So you need to have that jet ski to get in and out. But yes, sir, there's only one, and he has a tower, and he has his jet ski right there on the beach, so that he's either on the jet ski or he's in the tower watching over them.
Well, he responds to the
Noriega Point.
Noriega Point and everything, and it actually goes to Crab Island if they need.
That's correct. Well, they have called for him before to get into the group to get something. So they
It seems like he's a long way away from help should he need it. In other places on the beach, you can converge or something on an emergency.
we do.
Kind of
We overlap. So, meaning that if we have a rescue in, let's say, Zone 2, Zone 1, or Zone 3, somebody's coming to back them up.
Yeah.
So we always do it that way.
But they're on four-wheelers too, so they can, I guess they patrol all the way up to him and back.
They patrol right there to where he is, so that in the
Both side
event.
of Destin Point.
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir, they can cut around.
They
and
can
go
cover it if he needs
Okay.
help.
But he radios if he goes in.
Oh, yeah.
He's that tower, he's.
Oh, and he has a radio on him when he's on the jet ski too, because we've got special radios so that it's waterproof and all of that. So he's always in communication with one of the supervisors on the beach.
Is there any way to, without being too much trouble, to find out what the sheriff's department and FWC, what kind of rescues they make or
Sure,
assists they make?
we can ask them to see
Get
if,
that information and
keep
put
an
it in there too,
statistics.
because it all plays in the same game.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you go look at it, not just the ones that the
Look at
boat
the big
does,
picture.
but everybody does on Crab Island. If we could get that, I think that'd be an assistance in this.
What's the population in Crab Island on any given Friday or Saturday or something?
I think we guess.
Too many.
Yeah, exactly.
a lot,
I bet there's at least 5,000,
it's a lot.
but minimum when it's a busy
Well,
day.
coming and going, yeah.
Yeah. And a good way to figure that, if we could gather the information is from the rental, pontoon rental people. They could tell you, 8 people go out on a boat on average.
Well, every foot race, you just count.
Yeah, no, we did. We did, we sure could. We could actually break the scale out and start plugging away.
Just
I think number's gonna be high.
How do we
It's a little
normally
city.
staff our boat on Crab Island? I know it was next to me a good bit of the day on the 4th of July.
Yes, sir.
Then we had, I guess Anderson was running the boat, had a lifeguard in the back, and somebody else on the boat with him.
Yes, sir. There's
Those-
three.
Those three.
We staff it with 3. We staff it with the boat operator to operate the boat. We staff it with an EMT or paramedic, depending on whether the boat operator is a paramedic, you know, but we staff it with that, and then we staff it with a lifeguard.
Lifeguard, okay.
So lifeguard goes, gets them, brings them back, and then the EMT paramedic treats, and boat operator gets them out of there where they gotta go. It really takes 3, because if the boat operator needs to maintain the boat, even if we had the lifeguard go out and the lifeguard brings somebody back, well, who's gonna help him? The boat operator really can't help him to get him onto the boat, because he really needs to maintain it where it is. So 3 is the right number for us.
Dead weight's hard to get on the
That's
boat.
all I know.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, Chief. Training report?
Yes, sir, you'll see this month, or in June, you see 25-hour training per shift. You see the different areas in which they obtain the training.
Any questions about training? Inspection report. Fire Marshal Kelly.
Sir, you have it in front of you there. Our inspector is getting a little more familiar with the businesses, so seeing the number go up a little bit more. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Do we have any way of looking at these in-progress projects and just kind of estimating what the impact on ad valorem is going to be? And net that down to how much additional revenue that'll be for us in time phased for 2-3 years?
We can, definitely.
Okay. I mean, I'm not looking for any kind of precision, but I mean, the sense is that's really going up, and then ought to be all in our revenue.
I'd be curious how much we're
Year
gonna
2,
get
year
on
3, year 4.
the apartment complex.
That'll be a bunch. A lot of 2x4 sticks out there.
A lot of sticks. All right. Any questions on the inspection report? All right, response change report.
Yes, sir, you'll see on page 25, our percentage went up in June, which is great to see. Within 3% of making that 90th percentile, which is great for the month of June. It'll be interesting to see where July, because those months start to increase in call volume, which you'll see in the next slide, that June obviously is the busiest month so far this year. But what I kind of circled and just kind of highlighted is the fact that we're hitting of the 8-minute response, or 7:59, as NFPA requires. We're hitting it 87% of the time. Frac tally, we're hitting 90% of it at 8:51. So that's, I think, pretty good. I think it will improve if we put another station in. I think we can bring that number down, bring the 90th percentile number down, but increase the percentage overall that we're hitting it. But what I find interesting is the county, although in April was at 57, you'll see they went to 47 and then 48. And they are implementing their 12-hour shifts within the last 2 months, and yet we've seen that percentage go down. But at the last Chiefs meeting, Public Safety Director made a comment in comparison to Kings County in Seattle, Washington, about getting their response times down around 7 minutes. That caused a lot of conversation in the Chiefs meeting, I can assure you. And then you'll see at the next page where the division of the responses, you'll see the last 2 months, it's been over 70% has run out of this station. And then at station 10 is 29 and 30. And then you'll see in June, overall, the next page, 349 calls total for the month. Zone 1 again, is the highest zone, which is 74. Zone 3, which is right here around this station, is 67.
Chief, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know what kind of calls that 74 is? Is it just
I-
medical?
No, and we'll see that a little bit further, how the actual breakout. I don't know, but for just Zone 1, I could go back and pull those reports. So, I don't know, I'll see if I can't have something for you next meeting. I couldn't tell you right now.
I'm
We
just
don't have a
curious.
breakdown of it.
I
because
mean,
we
I do
don't-
see us running a lot.
Yeah, we don't break down all the zones by type of calls. But we could do that because it is accounted for by zones. So,
Well, I was just thinking if it's a lot more medical all the time, you know, different apparatus that we maybe could
yes, sir.
have
I'll
a
make
station,
myself a
I
note.
guess. Some more maneuverable or whatever.
Yes.
That was just what I.
Yes, and,
Thank you.
and I think that comes along with the thought that when we were talking about the other station down on Calhoun, of putting a smaller apparatus there, that has similar capabilities, maybe doesn't carry quite as much equipment as an engine because it has to be larger, but could be smaller, carry the functional equipment that it needs, but be shorter, a little bit more mobile. But yes, still have a pump on it, still put out water, all that, maybe not carry 1,000 foot of hose, maybe carry 500 foot of supply hose. You know, kind of shrink it down a little bit, because as you know, on Calhoun, once you turn off of Calhoun onto somebody's driveway, you have a lot of those live oaks and trees that hang over, and we can't get our apparatus down, so we got to pull hose all the way down the driveway. If we had the shorter truck, I believe we'd be able to get down the driveway. And I've looked at, North Bay just bought a mini pumper, they call it a rescue, but just bought a mini pumper that we went and looked at, that I think would, the reason we went and looked at it is because we thought it might be what we would look to put down there, being a shorter version, a little bit more mobile, it's 4x4. So, you know, it's an idea, for sure, and I agree with you, and I think we can accomplish what you're kind of talking about, even if for medical calls, it's a smaller truck, but yet still have the capability of, if it arrives first, at least maybe making an initial exterior check, laying hose from Calhoun down the driveway, the other truck picking it up to the hydrant. You know, there's a lot of tactical things that we can make happen with that smaller truck. So, but I'll break it out. I made myself a note to break that out for that zone just to see what it is.
Thanks.
Then you'll see the different types of calls we respond to broken out. They're very similar. What is interesting, and I saw this when I was breaking out the other info, is that in June, you see the MBAs were up 32 as compared to May at 23. But yet in March and April, spring break kind of time, it was up again in the 30s. So I thought that was interesting. But then when we go to the pie charts, which kind of reflect some of the changes that we made, you'll see the actual at 275, potential 306. Catherine and I are working on why our numbers are just a little off compared to what she's pulling with some of the other stuff. But what I found is interesting is if you go across the breakdown of medical versus fire for this past month in June, 52% was fire and 48% was medical. And that goes back to that multi-thread as compared to just a medical call. Although we might run a vehicle accident and it turns in somebody being transported, because it's a vehicle accident, it presents multiple threats. So we consider that to be a fire-based call because it could have been all kinds, it could have had fire, you could have had fuel leakage, you could have had oil on the ground, any number of things, could have been extrication. And that's not just a medical. So, then the next two are interesting. We had 49 calls where we were not requested by Okaloosa County. That's that 15% difference. And then you'll see on the next one, 31 calls we were requested on, which is relatively high for what we've been seeing the last few months. And I think that could be reflective of some of the changes that they've made. I think they're moving their trucks a little bit more, which is then they're being out of Destin, sort of calling more for our assistance to pick up some of that. So we're going to keep an eye on that for sure.
Well, there's a nursing facility,
Yes, sir.
that seems to.
It picked
came
up
picked
significantly, yeah. Yeah, when I think last month was 4.
Yeah.
We were up 9, so you double it up.
So
the
that's
out-
because they're probably not here. The ambulance is not here.
Right, so
we're
they need
going.
somebody to go down because they're in Fort Walton responding from there, not in Dustin. Or, as I've heard a couple of times, coming from, which is the typical staging area, the Army Museum. So we're gonna keep an eye on, especially that last one, where they're calling for us more.
Any questions? All right, moving to overtime report.
Yes, sir, minimal. The largest was only 4 hours. The rest of it was holdover for calls.
Good job keeping that down.
Yep, that's staying down, which is good.
Any questions for overtime? All right. Moving to new business, memorandum of understanding, Article 29, overtime.
Yes, sir, I discussed this with the board a while back before I presented the memorandum to the union president, and he signed it, took it to his group, they ratified it, they have approved it, now it's before the commission for the commission to approve. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve MOU.
A second. Got a motion to approve and a second to approve the MOU.
MOU?
MOU, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right. MOU. Any discussion? No? Take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous?
Thank you, sir.
Approved. All right, our next regular scheduled meeting will be August 8th, 2017 at 5:30 here at the Destin Station 9. If there's anything else coming from this board, from the Board of Commissioners or staff,
No, sir.
seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.